This is KTN News.
Right, already an animated conversation here in the studio. Thank you for staying with us here on Checkpoint. We're on to our last bit, an hour of discussing politics as we look at the state of the race. Leaders and presidential hopefuls making forays in various parts of this country. We've seen various stories we've also run in this bulletin. Raila Odinga was in Butere today, William Ruto in Muranga, Martha Karua Kiraitu Murungi, Justin Muturi also making their own campaigns, and One Kenya Alliance in Naivasha. This has become a nominal weekend. So let's talk to the pundits and the analysts here. Ambrose Weda is a lawyer and political analyst, as well as Gabriel Mudhuma, also a political analyst and a governance expert. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on Checkpoint. I began by just giving us a bit of what the politics looked like today from One Kenya Alliance, who are now together during the week. There are some issues, some statements made there by Savula saying that there are weak links in the alliance. We're seeing Raila Odinga back to Western Kenya. Deputy President William Ruto has maintained it in Central in Muranga in a rather abrasive. He's rubbed some people the wrong way in Central Kenya. Let's just begin with a general feel of what's this politics. Where are we now in this particular race? Jubilee is talking about an NDC in the next 7 or so days. What will this last week look like before that NDC? Let's begin from then. What this race looks like for you, from what you see.
Thanks for having us on this great Sunday. Well, you know, for this to help us, you know, guide us in this conversation, I think the one thing and this is something I've repeated more than once with Wakili Weda here. I think, first of all, before you even try to disenfranchise any of the candidates running in this race, you have to realize that all of them, and I've kept insisting, all these candidates who have thrown in their weight to run for president, they have a mathematical chance to become that. Everybody, when they say that's the coveted prize, they have a mathematical chance. Why do I say this? Because it depends on strategy. Right now, many people will tell you, we do not know what will happen in the next 3-4 months. We still do not know. But as chips start falling, I expect there to be great strategies. I expect there to be people who are forming coalitions and what have you. So this is a matter of waiting and seeing, because as we speak, you can't say there's somebody who's a weak link at this point, because you never know where they'll end up. They could be in this coalition or they could be in that coalition. And guess what? They may tilt the weight. The
falling of the chips, at what point does it happen in the race? Are we talking about next year? Are we already seeing some semblance of it happening?
If I give it a month, Akisa, I think by March, April, we should see some very strong coalitions coming through. Now, we still have some laws, like Kenyatta have not pushed these laws against party hopping and defections and what have you. And if those do happen and IBC comes in with clear laws, or the registrar of political parties, then that will actually guide us to how people should move. It may happen early, but then again, we have to wait and see when and if those laws come into play.
Wakili Weda, we are seeing some very intense campaigns across the country, especially from those viewed to be the top contenders in this particular race. There's been talk of a 2-horse race, a third horse, and everyone is just trying to haggle. But there's very keen interest in areas that are deemed to have the numbers. Central Kenya, Western Kenya. Looking at the kind of forays these leaders have made in this particular areas, is it too soon to call whether they're getting these numbers or not?
Thank you so much. I don't know where you get this impression that the intense campaigns.
We are seeing it. Even the IBC has talked about it. And
it doesn't mean that if the IBC talks about it as campaigns. Those are still called meet the people tours.
What are you like to our audience?
I'm with you.
Let me explain myself. Because I have been involved in these things. I've been involved in these things. We delivered the presidency in 2013 and 2017. And I have also, in 2007, we almost got it when I was in Raila's camp. So these are still meet the people tours. Rallies, you walk into a place, you say, so-and-so is coming, comes and talks. You will see intense campaigns. When they become instance, you'll see several helicopters crisscrossing the country. You will see leaders dividing themselves into various groups. You'll see, let's say, Raila's team. They are here, they are there, they are here. You'll see Ruto's team, Ruto is here, like that, like that. That's when it is intense. If you call this one, these are still meet the people to us. So is it a campaign or not? These ones are still meet the people to us. Campaigns are coming. It will be earth-shaking from the Kionjo we are seeing at this time. Therefore, what I had said earlier, you remember, I said that the deputy president, sir, the chief chicken seller, will go bolder as we go towards December.
He already has.
And he has not become bold. A time will come when he will gauge and see how is the president here, and then is it good to go for him? Is it good to go against him? For now, he's trying to dismantle Jacom Baba. And the narrative he's going through is to say, look, we were doing very well. We would have done very well. We would have delivered 10,000 kilometers of road. 4 agenda items. The big 4. We were ready until this man came here. Now that is the message. And that has been a message, yes. And that message, if you can see, it is being sold where? Mount Kenya. He doesn't sell it in Kisumu. He will not sell it in Western. He will sell it. They say, we would have done well, but I'm still going to do it. Because I'm going to close him and move on. You can see that the president himself is slowly crystallizing behind Baba. I saw a good friend of mine. We used to pray together. I remember one time he was sent, there was a by-election in Eldoret. And we slept together somewhere. So in the morning I woke up and said, you know, we have to pray for our candidate. That time it was 2012. After that I said, you pray for Uhuru that much. Now he's a good ally. It's called Bila Rocho. I have seen he is now with the Tenga. And when you see that, you can see where the son of Jomo, the son of Ngina.
Bila Rocho is my friend as well.
Correct. Now, if you see Bila Rocho in Baba's camp, then you know that slowly the son of Ngina is saying, my troops, my inner core, people who the people I see last, this is the direction. So there will be coalitions forming. The final part will be when the big rungu hits the Oka team. There will be a big rungu will hit them so that either they are scattered so that we end up with 2 groups. We have 2 teams. And that 2 teams will be one, Honorable Raila, the other one, Honorable Ruto. Okay. Who will bring the big rungu is likely to come from the president. He will try to persuade them. He'll try to cajole them. He'll try to talk to them. He'll try to divide them. And once that becomes difficult, a time will come when he says, now you are being ngumu.
All right. Before we talk about the One Kenya Alliance, let me just take you back to what you've termed as a strategy that Deputy President William Ruto is employing, trying to dismantle Raila, especially where it matters most.
Correct.
In central Kenya. Is it working?
Very well. I think until Baba comes up with a new strategy, there are 2 things he's using that are very destructive. One is that he brought down our party. He frustrated some of our agendas. Number 2, I'm bringing up the bottoms up. Mama Mboga, Mama, the Boda Boda. It resonates well there with the younger people. There are also some young people who are saying that the leadership, even from the Mount Kenya, are the bourgeoisies, the rich people. They are not going to cheat us. That is how they took the Kiamba seat and the Georgia.
That's true.
It is the younger people who are saying they will not cheat us. So these 2 messages are selling. That's why Baba tried to come up with the 6,000 shillings. But I think they didn't craft it well. And they have not propagated it well. So as the chief chicken seller crystallizes those ones, those 2 main agenda, nothing much has come from Baba on this. And then thirdly, he is saying, you know, I'm one of you, except I have just overpowered these guys. If it was not that I have overpowered them, I would also be down here. But I'm one of you, I'm up here. I got some little lollipop So I will, occasionally when I come as your brother, I'll give you kidogo, the lollipop I got. But you know them, they have so much, but they are too stingy. So wait for me to take power. Then now I don't need to give you lollipop. I will put a budget. Now those three messages are still very strong. And it will require that Baba's team, or even Honorable Saleh Mudavadi's team, because he is likely to could be the third strong force, would come up with those that resonates with the people. Before they do that, itakuwa
quite quickly about what Wakili has said in Matters Central. I think there's also something that many people forget. Since 2013 all the way to around 2017, if you will, the Deputy President has always had a head start. And even going a little bit beyond. And the head start was with Jubilee. You know, they were, you know, it was back in the day, matching ties and, you know, that brotherly love. He had a head start in Central. And so you're looking at immediately after the 2017 campaigns, he really befriended Central. And I think that has paid some dividends. Not actually some, it has paid quite a high degree of dividends. And I think if you look at the time that Honorable Raila has come in, I do not know how long it will take him for him to start shifting that, you know, to undo those gains. It may take, I don't know whether it will really have taken the fold that he needs. And that's why you've seen pundits across Central Province or Mount Kenya region are starting to say, what percentage do we need? So people have gone back to the back rooms for strategy, and they're asking, what percentage, given the fact that we may not get, going by the polls that we saw, given the fact that we will not get probably that high of a number in Central, and you have to give it to Dr. William Ruto, who has been crisscrossing across Mount Kenya. If we don't get the numbers that we need, what percentage do we require to be safe, to tilt this thing, not only to be safe, to get the presidency? So there's going to be a lot of boardroom and not only the backroom strategies to just ascertain what kind of leverage must we do in Mount Kenya to say this number will actually see us getting to the notch of the presidency. So I think whether is not really wrong, but where I would like people to understand, Deputy President has had a serious head start across Mount Kenya. And this is something that
what will it take for Baba to catch up?
They have to do a lot of running. They have to do a lot of running. They have to do a lot of convincing. Remember, this is somebody who has been, Deputy William Ruto has been in Mount Kenya for a long time, and I think he has known the kind of message that he needs to angulate towards. And like Weda has said, he has mastered a way of connecting with the people machine, and that's why it was easy for him to, you know, come and take a place like, you know, Moses Kuria in Juja and Kiamba. But more than the message resonating, I think you have started seeing Baba getting camps that are taking him to Mount Kenya. Mainly may not be to get a huge chunk or more than what Deputy President William Ruto has. It may be to see a percentage that they can gobble to be at par and resonate with a countrywide vote that will assist him, you know, get to that coveted price. So people need to understand that there has been somebody who has had a head start, and it's going to be a little bit hard to
turn that around.
I think just let me take in on what it would take Baba to you know, Baba originally should have had a head start. Going by the figures he has received, he would have easily had a head start. What do I mean? If he wants to go back to that level, he has to repent. Repent here does not mean you cry tears. And repent here means renew your mind and renew relationships. He has to repair the relationship between him and Musalia Mudavadi. He has to repair the relationship between him and Kalonzo Musyoka. That's true. Remember when Musalia Mudavadi was his running mate in 2007, they almost clicked this. And Honorable Kalonzo had walked out. Then now when they combined, it needed the combination of the Kalenjins and the Mount Kenya and state power for our side to win. So the first thing he needs before he struggles with the wazees from Mount Kenya is to be at peace with Musalia, to be at peace with Kalonzo, and to ensure they are of the same camp. That therefore means that they can shield Western Kenya, let's say to 70%. They can shield the Kamba votes. That put together, he would need then also to shield the coastal support, which he had. So his main duty is to ensure that those who have traditionally supported him as with him and as fully supporting him, then he needs just about 20 or 30% of votes from Mount Kenya, which President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta won Guinea with state resources and silver and gold and goodwill. He'll be able to get. Why do I say so? You know, President Uhuru, you may not like him before he arrives. But if he was to come here, he's very charming and a very lovely, nice human being. You just love him. You can criticize him before he comes. But when he walks in, so if then he has, Raila has his traditional base, then he persuades the son of Guinea that towards the end, let's go home, take me home for 30%, you would be able to win. But for now, Baba is still also assuming that Mudavadi does not matter, Kalonzo does not matter. He needs to get the son of Daniel Toroitich Sir Gideon. If he was to get Doctari, you know silver and gold is coming, goodwill is coming, infrastructure is coming. Because him, he has, he calls helicopters, bicycles, means they are available. And you need them handy at that time. So you need to get all these people also to bring out the face of Kenya.
But as you comment on that, let's just flip this for a bit.
Yes.
You say that the Mudavadi and Kalonzo factor, especially, will be very crucial in this particular race. So let's flip it. What if Deputy President William Ruto manages to convince these two to his camp?
Well, it will be a huge advantage to his camp, like he has said. And I need people to get this point. Honorable Raila actually needs Oka more than William does, because, like he has said, he has to have his base intact. He has to come in with nearly all the votes that he came in with in 2017. And then that will be easy if he's now going to look at the ports of the remaining, votes within the Mount Kenya region. That will be easy. But if he starts, losing and the gains that he had made in 2017, it would mean that he's actually starting at a point that is a little bit disadvantageous that he was in 2017. Granted the fact that we have seen some patches at the coast, Msambweni being one of them, which actually was taken by Sir William. So it also appears the person that Weda calls the chief chicken seller has understood how to enter into these pockets. You saw the campaigns he did in Kisii. You saw he tried this senatorial seat in Machakos. So he's gaining that momentum of moving. And if he continues like that, then Baba has a long patch to catch up. But if it goes by what you're saying, that some of the principles within Oka move in, and not only them moving in, but coming with the basket of votes that they commanded in 2017, then that would actually tilt the election to the favor of Honorable Deputy President. But again, if all things remain constant, Baba probably would have an easier discussion with the One Kenya Alliance, because Sir William has said, guess what? Anybody coming in, you must fold up your party. So that may not sit well with so many people. And that's why I think if somebody comes in with a better strategy to assist in Honorable Raila's camp, to go and talk to these people, to tell them bygones be bygones, and to tell the likes of our very good friend, the SG of ODM, to tone down his rhetoric, because he's really abused these people back to back. If he's able to tone down a little bit and allow now the people who know how to talk to politicians, allow them to do it, then I believe they can actually come in and join Baba in the race. If they join Baba, trust you me, it's also a huge advantage to Baba's camp.
One Kenya Alliance seemed to be a bit shaky sometime during the week, starting from Sunday, where they held different meetings. We saw Musalia Mudavadi on his own. Then we saw the other three principals on their own in Kajiado. I hosted Oka leaders here on Thursday, and they said it is part of the strategy to go different ways and acquire as much as they can. And now we've seen them in Naivasha together, still seemingly really trying to push as an alliance that they will go all the way to the ballot. What is Oka's place in this race?
I said, and let me repeat, that once it becomes clear that they are going to lose to the chief chicken seller, our brother, Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto, these guys, our big brothers and leaders, will easily unite. They will easily unite. The fear of Honorable William Ruto defeating them will make it easier for them to unite. Why? Because if he was to take over leadership, he will quickly send them to retirement. Why? Because he'll do 10 years. He's young. That therefore leaves them angry. But some of them, I think, also have doubts whether Raila will go the whole hog. Some of them also are justified because Baba has mistreated them. I think the way Baba has mistreated Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the way he has mistreated Honorable Kalonzo, the way he kicked around Wetangula, it was like he didn't bother about them. The way he has allowed my younger brother and professional colleague, Sifuna, to wantonly insult them anytime they sneeze. Sifuna goes to abuse their mothers and their grandmothers and their cousins, all of them together. Instead, they look and say, why can't Baba just say we have fought? Please, Bwana Sifuna, these are my comrades in arms, we have fought. Also, it would have been a lot easier for them to join Baba than to join Sir William. But it seems that Sir William is already going out to say, look, come, we do the work. While Baba is still holding, he's still allowing the likes of Sifuna, the likes of our brother from Suna East or Suna West, Junet, insulting these people. Yes, it is the time when he would have done what Moi did with Nyachai. When things were hot and Moi was going to run and he needed these people, he walked into Nyachai's home. It is said, I was not there, so I can't say I saw it, but it is said he walked home. Honorable Simeon Nyachai, precious memories, may he rest in peace, was not there, but he went to Mama. And he's the one who called and said, boss is here, Mtukufu Rice is here. And you see when Mama calls, he came. And when you're at somebody's home, there's always this thing where you feel you have to treat your guest well. When they finished, a deal was done. I don't know why Honorable Raila cannot walk to Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and say, Bwana, the son of Budamba, we have come very far. The chief chicken seller is going to mangle us unless we unite. I beg you, I beseech you, forgive me, my brother. I just do 5 years and I make you Minister for Finance with a lot of powers. You prepare yourself, you also have some lollipops, so that when you run, when I'm going, you take this thing. And then you walk to Kalonzo and you say, Bwana, this young man is going to send us to retirement. Tafadhali, let's forget. But he is also still just behaving like he doesn't. Then he can also appeal to the son of Gina and say, please talk to Sir Gideon. Just talk to him. I know if the son of Gina was to call Sir Gideon and say, Baba, Uku, he will abide. And again, that also has to do with Musalia Mudavadi. And then there is also the question of they have been running campaigning. There is the monies they have spent. You give them a formula. You say, I know up to now how much have you spent? Let's say 500 million. After they will exaggerate, of course. How much have you spent? Then you say, you see, we will see. We will do fundraising, but a bit of it we will refund you. Then he has these people, so that by now they should be countering the Chief Kenyatta by saying, we are the face of Kenya. He is a lone ranger, dictator, as we are Kenyans, and it works. Yeah. But for now, the way they are doing it, I don't know whether they are looking at strategies or just kifua. And I can assure you that if also they don't build themselves strong, the president will support them in kind, but will not come out to run around with them here and there. He will sit back and say, whoever wins. Yeah.
And true to the fact, you've seen them meet the head of state twice, I think, in Mombasa.
Yes, it's
and they
happened.
Came out,
yeah.
and all of them came out, and I think there was a presser that evening, and they said, we did not agree on anything. We agreed on how to put Kenya together and what have you. But I think there was a point where His Excellency, the president, came out and said, you know what? Leadership moving on as far as this coalition is concerned, that the coalition between Oka and Odm and Jubilee to an extent, depends on your togetherness. If few people come together, then there's something good that will come out of it. But if you do not, then pole kwenyu. So I think as we move along, then again, we need to start questioning at what point will they allow to come and join either Honorable Raila Odinga or which side they'll want to pursue their interests, whether it's ODM
or go it alone.
Or go it alone. And that is something, actually, that to me is a primary option. And what they have actually assured their supporters and their bases, that is the better option.
What happens to the rest if they pick that option of going it alone to the ballot?
Well, many people, and I've not checked the numbers really to be honest, but many people are saying if they go alone and they are able to marshal up enough numbers, then you could see a rerun of the election. Now, that we have to wait and see, and see two things. The first one is obviously the promises. We are getting into a season of, what will you do for me? At the end of the day, it's about interests. We've said that's what politics is, and that's what we've made it to be. So whether we'll be told if he's one of the principles of Oka, and we will give you this docket. Yeah. The other one will give you this docket. And they'll go to the other side. What are you offering? So depending on what comes out, they'll pick a side. That's what I'm thinking. Then the number two thing is, then after the season, assuming one person picks, like he has said, if Daktari William Ruto goes to the president, it's a given 10 years. They are hoping Baba may just do the Mandela moment thing that people have been talking about and serve one term. But that we do not know. In politics, things change, and they change rapidly. We have seen it happen. When in the coalitions, how they die very quickly. And then there's the third factor that I want all of us as Kenyans to consider. There is the current legacy the president has left. Akisa, let's give it to the man. He has really developed this nation. His party has actually worked tirelessly to at least move Kenya in the direction that many people are happy. I mean, look at what we are able to see, the development that's going on.
Some would disagree with you.
We are not where we are not where we want to be, Akisa. That one I can tell you flat out. But guaranteed, we are not where we used to be. There are things happening. I mean, if you ask anybody in Nairobi right now who comes from Vitongoji Duni, they are telling you they are able to go to a dispensary and they're able to get medicine. The NMS has really done a great job with the 24 clinics. The roads that are opening up, the bypass, then both the south and the north, Nairobi is opening up, and you can see an element of development. So if we are going to support that legacy, and I heard in Kirinyaga, the Deputy President said, Your Excellency, we started with you. I know I am best suited to continue this legacy. The reason is we made this manifesto, me and you. It is ours, it belongs, So who is, and he says this all over, I mean, it has become actually a mantra in his campaign trail. He says, si tulitafuta serikali na Mungwana. Yes. So we started all this. So we started electricity connection. So we started then, and he would go, detailing what they've started. And then he would say, who do you think,
is best
suited to run this? So I think this is something we also need to be alive to, Akisa. Where does this leave us as a country? How do we continue with this great legacy, the Big Four agenda like he's talking about? Who is best suited? So these are some of the few things that we must, we must be able to engage, talk about, and really start deciding. And I've heard people saying this, in whose hands are we safe? That is not something we can deal about or we can talk about here. But what our question is, who is best suited to take this country to the next level, where we all know we should be? So that is left to me, you, and Weda here.
But apart from the legacy question, why is it so important for President Uhuru Kenyatta? Because we are seeing a lot of haggling to assemble a coalition, meetings here and there, backroom talks to just have everybody under one big, formidable coalition by next year. Why is it so important to him, even as he leaves office?
I think what is very critical to the president is the stability of this country. It is a discussion that we've had before. There was a time things were so intense.
Yes, true.
And it was discussed. And I remember in one of the forums saying that I've looked at, like, for instance, the Luo Nation. And they have reached a level where they need just one mad fellow. Just one mad fellow to call them to arms. And they'll take it. They had reached that part. They have reached that level. To forestall this, leadership must move beyond the two communities, the Kikuyu Nation and the Kalenjin Nation. We may not talk about it, we may laugh it, we may laugh and say what, but it is deep. Somebody can capitalize on it. And I think the main reason, because in 2007 it became very apparent, very clear, that some people are willing, they were even willing to say, let us secede. If this is tyranny of numbers, this is the way it works, let us secede. And you rope in the Luos, then you rope in the lawyers, then you rope in some of these people. And it was very clear in 2007. You saw even election boycott was very easy. You saw even how people were willing to fight. So the medicine that would cure this is to give hope to also these other communities, that in Kenya, you also have a chance of ascending to the presidency. Right. And that can only work if you also allowed another community to lead. If it was to go back to the Kalenjin, and I think democracy should be okay with that. But in terms of tribal inclinations, in terms of the way we think as tribes, as sub-nations, it continues to be some cancer in our
But
body
the president
politic.
knew this when he was saying, kumi yangu, kumi yako.
When the president said this, what were they doing? Campaigning. During campaigns, they'll tell you, when we come to power, you will eat full breakfast, continental, lunch will be soup with good things, and supper. And then, oh yes, those are campaigns. Otherwise, the reality after the 2007 election, you just need some one mad fellow, and we will fight. Look at this other guy. Look at Ethiopia. Just a misstep, they're down. Look at Sudan. Look at all these countries. So you look at it and you say, which community has a lot of wealth outside here that when fire comes? So a good leader, like Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, who is also a businessman, would say, if we want to move another 50 years, what do we do today? You look at what did Mandela do? What Mandela did has helped the country for a long time. Then some Gorokos came in between, and you can see where they are going.
No.
So I think this is what is at the heart of the president. Not that he loves Raila so much, not that he loves or he hates Mheshimiwa Ruto so much. It is like he's saying, let us run. Let us take this stick. Let us give in to this man. By this time, you'll mature up, and then you come and take over. He would be talking from experience, because when His Excellency President Moi proposed him for presidency, Kenyans said no. Okay? But he realized in 10 years, now he was mature enough, he would be able to take it himself. He has worked with Mheshimiwa Ruto, and he knows that he's a very consummate politician, able, good, go-getter, worker, and even a good fellow. But I think the problem is the baton. He will say, if we are going to have this our country stable, then we have to remove power from these two sub-nations that have ruled this country for all since independence. Let us move out. Then after time it rotates. Without it, and I'm telling you from the depths of my heart, without it, one day, General Megona or somebody else, or my brother here, may come up and say, no, it is time, we have no hope in this country. There's no need why we should have this unity. We want a section of the country. And see, destroying is a day. You're reuniting people. So that is what is at the heart of the president. I think. You see, in the eyes of the objects, his narrative actually makes a lot of sense. In the eyes of democracy, we say anybody, every person can become president. And I think this is something we have to struggle with for the longest. And the more we start, and like I said, this is why I hate talking about tribes. Well, we say it's culturally good, it's a reach, to show Kenyans and to show the world the diversity of our cultures and what have you and our tribes.
Also, but sometimes politics is long.
And sometimes I think there's the curse of the tribes, and this is what actually emanates from it. Because today, if you ask people from Meru, they'll tell you, we've never had our own. If you ask people from Embu, they will say the same. If you go to Rift Valley, if you ask the people from a certain region, probably the Kipsigis, they will say, well, we've never, same thing. We have this sub, after every tribe we have the sub, it is really
all
murky.
The way down to clans.
All the way down, all the way. And you've seen even within communities. Go to, and I'm sorry to say this, but it happens, go to the Ma people. They'll tell you, we have the Purko and we have the, the other clans. And they say, this is our time. Yeah. So I think we need to start asking ourselves, when did we stop becoming a country that cared for the values and the standardization of everything? Because if I'm going to school and my son is going to get educated, or my daughter, I'm expecting the same schooling and the same service they get to a hospital be the same that is awarded to my friend Wakili here, and to you as well. The standardization of our social capital, that when you wake up, nobody thinks about the tribes. They are good to have, but they do not actually point to where this country is going. By this, I mean that when we get to a certain point where we realize that we have a country to protect in our social fabric, not a conglomerate of tribes, but we are a country called Kenya, that all of us swear and are so swearing to the allegiance of the black, green, and red, we realize that is that's something that should bring us together than drive us apart. I am not saying there's nothing wrong with us and our tribes, our mother dialects, our mother tongues, and what have you. It's all welcome. Our cultures are rich and diverse, but they should not come and dictate where a nation should go.
Okay. In a week's time, the Jubilee Party will be holding its NDC, and within this week, there are a series of rallies that have been planned across the country, starting from central Kenya, to just popularize in readiness to what some have termed as the earth-shaking NDC, because of some of the decisions that would likely be taken in this particular meeting. We've seen other parties already held their NDC. We've seen KANU, we've seen Ford Kenya. Other parties are expected, Wiper should be doing its NDC sometime soon. So parties are now trying to put their houses in order and to align themselves. But this NDC, what are we likely to get out of it? They're talking about rebels and all those things they've said about this NDC. There's now conversation on whether this NDC will produce a running mate for Raila, considering they're talking about they're talking about an Odm Jubilee pre-post-election coalition.
You know why I'm laughing? These gatherings they call NDCs. Other than the name NDC, they're not NDCs.
What are they?
We need a new term for them.
What are they?
The only
your
party
terms?
that can talk about NDC is ODM. Otherwise, Jubilee, UDA, CG Ward, they have not done any elections. If we are talking about NDC, there must be grassroots members, there must be party officials, and the county, sub-county, all these things, elections. They have never done any elections. So this NDC, you know NDC, are all party officials all over the country now coming to make the supreme decision making. So a party which has not done any elections, and they are young parties, Jubilee is hardly 4 years old, but he has not done any election. That's the president's party, our party. Kanu also has not done any elections. For the Kenya, the same. UDA, the same. So they just use the name NDC because the word is nice, but otherwise it's only ODM that can. So when these people come, these are people who are collected all over to come, and then when they sit there, what do I Nyanza? Here, what do I Central? Oh, and some of them are just from Kikomba here. Do you understand?
I don't believe you.
We've done this game. We've done this game. You know this. What do I know this time? What do I know? Then you see people, otherwise, they're not any, they're just people, some are from Italy, and so on. The decisions that will be taken, let me just pray. I pray that my party, Jubilee, they will not do this thing of we are sacking the deputy president and so on and so forth. It would sound very bad. It would look untidy. For now, I think as a party, we should not concentrate on something like that. They should look at, if they are talking about running mate, fine. If they are talking about other things, fine. But we are sacking so and so, because somebody can decide to go to court, and somebody will definitely go to court to muddy the process. And then the court will make some temporary orders that then put a break to anything you do. And then now they wait for another 3-4 months. You are delayed. So I would, if I was advising the Jubilee secretary, I would tell them, let you not do something that can trigger a court action that can make you be stuck. You can't go forward, you can't come back. One of them would be to purport to sack or remove anybody. That would be an issue. Then there's the constitutional issue. Have you given them a hearing? Did you give them charges? Did they answer? All this. So I would ask my people, as you are watching this, please don't go there. But these other things, they will be, you don't need rallies. When you are going to hold an NDC, you don't need rallies. You are going to Kisumu, there will be NDC. You just call the NDC. They need to go back to the tapes, and you need to give them the one that Baba Mo used to do. Very organized, very able, very stable, very arranged, and properly choreographed. So I expect a few decisions will be made, but not earth-shaking. This earth is not easy to say shake. It's not easy. No. You see, the thing, let me tell you things which can shake this earth of ours. One, if Raila says, I'm not running for president, that will be very earth-shaking. If Uhuru was to say, I'm supporting Ruto, that will be very earth-shaking. But if you say, we now don't like the chief chicken seller, that will not shake any earth, because immediately you say, but I left. If you understand, you say, we have now merged. This will not be the first merger. The greatest merger in this country was between ADP and KANU. These are the ones. So,
are there any key decisions that would likely be made in this NDC that would work in favor of Raila Odinga, considering these two parties are talking about?
Yes, I think the NDC will give a go-ahead, likely to give a go-ahead that if you merge with any party, you enter into any coalitions and you do what, either they can choose to mention ODM specifically, or they say, we now authorize you to enter into any coalition with people who do 1, 2, 3. Then now the leadership will work it out, and it is merged. Or even to merge, or even to dissolve, or even to change. That will be for the sake of the new coming formation. Maybe that's what we'll call earth shaking. But the rest, there's nothing to shake.
Well, I think in my own view, I think what you're probably calling earth shaking, there are only two things that I think may happen once the NDC gets to meet. Now, this is the first time I think they are meeting the National Delegates Conference. Yes. And I'm thinking you'll also have quite a number of elected leaders who are Jubilee, who may also, show up. I don't know whether the deputy party leader has been invited. That we don't know. But
they've made it clear that they're not going to get any.
Actually, he's the one who's supposed to be organizing it.
Yes, and primarily this is because, one, they may actually say during the NDC that he now has to leave and concentrate on his party, UDA. He left Jubilee. They can use that line, and actually legal scholars whether here will tell you actually that will be something in play. Even if anybody goes to court, they will have the reference saying, but he left, and he took, you know, quite a number of people with him. They are UDA, and that's it. So, and on that action item alone, I think the seat is declared vacant of the party deputy leader. So that's what I see happening. Secondly, I also see what Weda has said coming to fruition, and that is to now allow an official merger between Jubilee and ODM.
Yeah.
That I also see coming out. The other thing which may also come to play probably is to give now position cross empowerments. And remember, there was a signing between Jubilee and Wiper, was it not? So I do not know how that will be treated. Those are some of probably the things that they may be put in a back burner. But those two are primarily what I would expect to see.
What does an official merger between ODM and Jubilee mean for this race currently as is?
Well, I mean, that's the formation of their coalition. It emerges from there, just like UDA and TNA came and other parties within to, you know, to come up with the Jubilee. So really that's, it will actually set up the, or ring the dawn, if you will, for this is the vehicle towards 2022. So expect it to come out of there. About the running mate, I do not think it may come out of the NDC. Proposals may come, probably, but I do not think it will be done at that particular
Will it come
time.
from the Jubilee party or outside? There are some names that have already been thrown
I honestly think they have already chosen a candidate. Personally, I think that. But if they are to merge between ODM and Jubilee, obviously the running mate will come from Jubilee. Banan. Where I'm seated, I think they've already, Baba has already declared that man. I really like his temperament. This person can be a good running mate.
What would then be the place of the likes of Martha Karua, Justin Muturi, just to name a few, Peter Kenneth, in this race? They're all being touted to be formidable.
The winds seem to be blowing towards Peter Kenneth.
Yep.
Not just this time. It has been for many years.
True.
He has been prepared for many years. In my view, it is only that he made a tactical mistake by coming to run in Nairobi and opposing President Uhuru. When everybody else was saying, please just run in Murang'a and you have a higher chance, and then you build your profile. He's a gentleman, he's a good man. And so he's been shoved up, although he's been damaged. He's also a good bet. You can't just sell him. If you want to hit him that you are a Kikuyu, he'll tell you, I'm like Obama. Don't joke. So the winds are blowing towards him. Just as the winds are blowing towards Anne Waiguru. The race is to get somebody from Central Province. Honorable Justin Muturi is a good friend of President Uhuru Kenyatta. If you wanted to handle him, okay, you will then talk to the son of Gena and say, please talk to my brother here. From where he is, we'll make him a CS. And I think he will be all right. So the way things are going, the way things are, you will find that the running mate will not be produced from the NDC.
Yep.
The running mate will be either propped up by the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, or those businessmen. The one you saw, the one that took
the one everyone has been meeting.
Now, that I'm talking on Raila's side. On Honorable Ruto's side, the chief chicken seller, he has quite a few. He has Alice Wahome, he has Anne Waiguru, He has
Rigathi Gachagua is also being propped.
And quite a number. But I think if Honorable Raila was to take Peter Kenneth, Honorable Ruto will take Anne Waiguru to get on the women ticket, to get on the women front, as well as she's also very good, can deliver, though damaged by various allegations. But that can be washed in a day. The blood of our Lord Jesus Christ washes all sins. So I think that it will not be NDC of Jubilee or ODM saying that we love so and so. Even when Mudavadi was running mate to Raila, it was not NDC. When Honorable Kalonzo was running mate, it was not NDC. It is always dictated by circumstances. And what are these circumstances? Votes that are at stake, finances,
That's true.
and then the face that you bring. So those will be the considerations.
One key figure I've not talked about in Central, Martha Karua. What's her place in this?
Martha Karua is not in the mathematics. If you are going to talk about running mate, then you have to look at the Honorable Raila's running mate or Honorable Ruto's running mate. Those are the running mates we are talking about. Contrary to what my brother was saying, that things will crystallize, next year and so on. If each of them were to run separate today, then there will be a runoff, in my view.
That's true.
And Honorable William Samoei Ruto will lead, followed by Honorable Raila Odinga, followed by Musalia Mudavadi, followed by Kalonzo Musyoka. That order.
What parameters are you using to make
votes?
Votes.
You start counting votes from home, nyumbani, kwenyu, and then the second you count who are likely to support you.
Correct.
That means that even if Honorable Musalia Mudavadi runs, a few Luyas will still vote for Raila. All the Luyas will vote for Raila. Then he has had us across. He can pick in Nairobi, pick there. So that means he has a bigger chunk. The same as the Chief Chicken. He has walked around. He will get a chunk from Central. Those are enough to put them ahead. These other our leaders. Musalia would have been very good, but he has stayed docile for long. He needed now to have come out very, very hard and very strong.
Is he doing it now with the One Kenya Alliance?
He's doing it, but the message has not come. He could have come out and said, first of all, I'm the safest pair of hands.
He said that.
He's not saying it. It is drumming it. Repeat. Faith comes by hearing. Hearing.
But the truth of the matter, he has started coming out. He has actually come up with a very good message about the economy. He's well spoken. And like I told you, mathematical chance, this thing, you never know, it can happen either way. But coming back to what you've asked, Wed, about Martha Karua, two things come to play. First of all, the person who has actually spoken on behalf of Martha Karua is Honorable Moses Kuria, who has actually said this lady here, a honorable lady who has walked off on 2 presidents, can carry her own weight, is really somebody who any party or any leader running for presidency should consider her as a running mate. So the question is, who will find that as an advantage? That is one. She has not spoken about it herself. But
no, she had ruled out.
Yes, what she has said is, she actually said her eyes are trained for the gubernatorial seat for Kirinyaga. So that just tells you she may actually have thrown in the towel as far as that seat for the deputy president is concerned.
But can you rule her out from this month?
First of all, you must want it. You must want it. You must say, whatever happens, politics, I'm up for consideration. And so, great political suitors will be, we are angling Martha Karua. But there's also something else which might come to play. What if she does not join either Honorable Raila's side or Deputy President William Ruto's side? What if she decides to use the small pockets of votes she has in Kirinyaga to join One Kenya Alliance. What if Justin Muturi goes on to One Kenya Alliance? You see what I'm trying to tell Weda is, we may see things that, I mean, it's a political year. We may see things where we think it's a two-horse race. You may start seeing other people just, joining this side. Sometimes not for anything else, but maybe to spoil the party for the two horses. So,
and sometimes it's done deliberately in politics.
Do you know there are some places, I had my book, I was talking with somebody when, but this happened in the US, when Joe Biden and Donald Trump were running. There is actually this lady who was in the Green Party, and she ended up messing so many things for Donald Trump. She actually took in so many votes in areas where it would have tilted the voting towards the favor of either of the candidates. So what I'm saying is, we've not had this kind of balance in our politics. And so in the next few months, Akisa, we may be, before we are so sure about the bolting of these two candidates, and mainly this may happen when they get to choose their running mates, because after that, the chips will have fallen. Probably you have people in One Kenya Alliance who are saying, if they would throw me a lifeline to become a deputy president, probably we may reconsider. And they said, if they would give you that, then we may consider. If that does not come, they may say, by the grace of God, there goes we. And they all jump to the race. Kalonzo has actually said it in very certain times, that he will be crazy, actually mad, to support Honorable Raila Odinga. Musalia Mudavadi has actually said something similar to, echoing the same sentiments. That on this one, libe libalo, paupe, ballot. All right? And then you have, Senator Gideon, who is saying, I'm also in this race. And I've had somebody else who has come out from the woodworks, also they want to be in the race. So what I'm saying, Akisa, is that as the whole formation unfolds, when they've chosen their running mates, then things may actually become very tricky. Very tricky, depending on who each presidential candidate, mainly the two horses that we're being told about, Honorable Raila and Deputy President William Ruto, depending on who they choose as their running mates, things may become a little bit murky.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left, so let's get your closing remarks. So then what are we likely to see between now and December? Oka is saying by December 31st, we would have a flag bearer. Raila is talking about a date in December when Uamuzi will be made. And we are seeing people throw around these dates around December. What are we likely to see in about 37 days to the end of the year? This crystallizing that you're talking about, are we likely to see anything?
I think we're just going to see intensity in people moving around. And then they will start watching one another. Like the Ruto camp will be watching the Raila camp. Who's running mate? Who is standing where? And they'll also be watching the president and trying to cajole the president, be on our side, we are winning, and so on and so forth. But there'll be nothing major. There'll be nothing major other than increased campaigns, throwing of barbs, and watching what is the other fellow doing. Oka will then be looking at it. You have seen now the opinion polls have started coming out. Now, these opinion polls, they'll be used to discourage some people, they'll be used to build others, and they'll be used to build coalitions and destroy coalitions. It is a time that a political side, if I was on Raila's camp, I would tell him this is what President Uhuru and Sir William did. They quickly agreed and said government will be 50-50. Is that okay? Agreed. Honorable Raila should go out and say, Sir Kalonzo, this is government, 22 cabinet positions, presidency. For me, once I get presidency, I'll just get 1 or 2 cabinet positions. This community will get deputy president plus 1 cabinet position. Now, you people, these are yours. 4 are yours, 4 are yours, 4 are yours. Is that okay? Let's move. But if they wait, it could be too late to defect, to join these camps. And if they go on election divided, Honorable William Ruto is going to embarrass them. That will be what I'm advising them. Let them go in together and let them not disappoint President Uhuru, who wants the unity of this country. But allow me to mention something just outside. Our children are now at home half term. The schools, especially the principals and the teachers, they are in very intense circumstances. Threats of fire here, fire there, rumors here, and so on and so forth. The teachers are undergoing a lot of stress. We need to pray for them. We need to support them, especially the principals. But now, fellow parents who are at home, with our children at home, please talk to your children. Do not gossip against the teachers. Talking ill within the hearing of your children against them. Let's bless the teachers. Let's see that they are also doing a good support. And we continue praying for them. I'm praying for my friend, it's called Douglas Kiplagat. He teaches my daughter. And I say, I keep on praying for you as a great man, as a good teacher. And we have very many good teachers working 24 hours for our children, some of which we have not trained well. They are difficult at home. We throw them at school where we expect them to be angels. Let us talk to our children. Let us bless them. Let us pray for them. Let us bless our teachers. Let us grow them. They are our future. We need to build them. That is my plan.
Actually, you know, it will shock you because that's the very same thing I was thinking. And I was thinking, we are coming to the holidays, and this is something I like about this good friend of ours, the pastore. And I think we need to take this thing away from government for a little bit. And we need to discuss it as parents. And we need to find a solution. There's somebody who said, if we are not concerned about the vices that are happening during our time, then we are not assisting society in any way, shape, or form. This issue of burning schools and running, you know, we now have runaway craziness within our academic institutions. And I believe, as parents, me, you, and Wakili here, and everybody else, we have a part to play. And that part that we must play must be done so with the full realization that we lost it somewhere. We need to find our way back home to where we lost it. We need to be gracious enough to start listening to these young boys and girls as to why this is happening. And like he has said, we need to really take cue. You cannot be talking crazily about teachers and expecting your children to go to school and respect the people that you put down. That is why I'm saying, Akisa, we need to have an honest discussion between the principals, between the teachers, between the PTAs and parents ourselves. These solutions that must come to assist and aid in this situation of arson in our schools will only be found if we start talking with one another.
All right, that's a very great place to end. And of course, it's something we continue to keep our eye on. Someone also said, let us start listening to these children.
True.
We seem to be adopting a top-down approach as adults in the room.
We've become gadget people.
Perhaps it's time to sit back and just listen to what this generation is saying.
That
Gentlemen, always a pleasure to host you. Thank you very much. We do this again next Sunday. Ambrose Weda is a lawyer and a political analyst. Gabriel Muduma is a governance expert as well as a political analyst. Asanteni Sana for coming here on Sunday. Wishing you a blessed week ahead. And of course, that's how we wrap it up here on Checkpoint. Thank you for watching, for all your views, comments that I'm seeing online here and on our text line. Asanteni Sana for joining us. I'll be seeing you tomorrow night on Kivumbi 2022. Have a good night. My name is Akisa Wandera.
This is KTN News.